Welcome to our community. Susie Thomas here with you this morning, and we are visiting with our friend Anthony Burwell of Emerge Counseling Services. Good morning.
Good morning, Susie.
Anthony, some folks might not be familiar with Emerge, so can you give us a little bit of background?
Be happy to. Emerge Counseling Services is just that. We offer Christ-centered mental health services for anyone in the community. We have services for youth as young as 4 years old all the way up to really any age, regardless of what you might be dealing with, any type of emotional distress, everything from suicidal thoughts to weight management to bullying to grief and despair to post-traumatic stress syndrome. All this wide diaspora of things that our counselors, clinical counselors, deal with from a Christian perspective, from a Christ-centered perspective. So we're in our 43rd year of business right in beautiful Akron, Ohio on Mall Avenue. And we see at this point over 400 clients per week out of that office and our 4 extension sites throughout the state of Ohio. So that's our local ministry, if you will, but we are a national and international ministry as well. We invite and speak with and counsel pastors and missionaries from all over the world, particularly Africa and Asia and all across these fine United States, to make sure that our spiritual leaders are kept healthy and well, hopefully before a crisis hits, but when, as we know, the enemy strikes and crises do occur, we are there to begin that restoration process as well, and just build them up to be whole human beings that Christ loved and created in his image. So it's a wonderful, glorious ministry. I can't get enough talking about it. Can't believe more people don't know about it, but I'm very pleased that we have a chance to talk about it here and talk about a lot of the things that we have coming up.
Well, you are doing a wonderful job of making sure that people do hear about it. The beginning of it was to minister to pastors, correct?
Absolutely,
because they're those that have to minister to so many others going through these same kinds of things.
So obviously, if you take directly from the Bible, where it talks about a shepherd and a sheep, sheep don't have sort of the mental capacity and things to care for themselves as a group. Individual sheep might be very smart, but as a group, sheep need to be led. And so there needs to be a shepherd there that's at least guiding the way, that's opening the fence, or in our case, that's creating fences at the top of the cliff, as opposed to ambulances at the bottom of the cliff, which is what we do at Emerge on both ends. So we were intentionally, from our foundings, Dr. Richard Dobbins, our founder, creator and founder, wanted to build a ministry that allowed for the care of pastors and the care of shepherds and their flock. If our shepherds are kept healthy and strong, they in turn are going to do a better job of being able to care for us as sheep. And so that's important. And so the value of that is immeasurable. We talk about the individual clients that we see, but that impact, it carries out exponentially when you start to talk about those that they engage with, those that they care for, those that they minister to and minister with. And so we're honored to be in this position of help service.
Do you find that the stigma about seeking out mental health services is dissipating at all? What do you find?
I do find that it still is a struggle among people to be willing to talk beyond their own social circles, outside of their own upbringing, to go out and seek mental health care. It's something that all the mental health care providers across the city are dealing with. Particularly as an African American male in the African American community, I can tell you in particular, there is a stigma that continues to be attached to sharing your problems with others, speaking outside of the family, and in turn, when you say that you're having a quote unquote mental health issue, then that creates another stigma even on top of that, because now you're, things like crazy or emotionally disturbed or what have you. And really, you're just 25% of the people in the United States have been diagnosed with some type of mental illness. So if a quarter of the people that we might engage with just in this country are dealing with some form of mental illness, then why is there a stigma? Certainly, it's not necessarily the majority that's placing that on people. We're placing it on ourselves.
Yeah.
And so Emerge exists to be able to give people just an opportunity to receive the help that they may need, even when they're healthy. If they're hurting, certainly we want to offer hope and healing in those situations. Of course, Christ provides the healing, but we're an agent to be able to do that. And it's exciting to be able to see people who come in shoulders slumped, not knowing exactly where to go in their first session, knowing they need some sort of help, and a couple of weeks later leaving with not necessarily cured, but certainly with an outlook, a brighter outlook, and an opportunity to engage in activities to keep them strong, to change their relationship, and hopefully, ultimately, as is all our goal, to seek a higher calling and to find our Lord and Savior.
Where do you think that hesitancy to seek help comes from? Because certainly, if we have the flu, we don't hesitate to go get something and do something about it. If I break a bone, I'm going to go have it set. If there is a brain imbalance, chemical imbalance of some kind, why wouldn't I just go get that looked at rather than be ashamed or think that there's something wrong with me, that I shouldn't be this way?
Sure. So it's a great question, and I look at it this way. In the early 1900s, actually before the early 1900s, I should say, the heart as an organ was something that was considered untouchable by man. It was only made by God. It was created by God. So people who had heart disease and people who were having chest pains, they wouldn't even go see the doctor. They would simply deal with it because they didn't think that it could be dealt with by human hands. Well, that has all changed over the time.
Yes.
Someone had the wherewithal to actually break open the chest and do the research and understand that not only can we, in the most extreme cases, do a heart transplant, but even in the cases of how can we care for them, let's look at the aorta and what's creating the problem. Let's look, is this a built-in condition, or is it something that's been created by your diet? And over the course of years and years of study, we recognize that if you have chest pains and you go into the emergency room, your chances of, and you happen to be having a heart attack, your chances of being saved are much higher than if you just sit and wait, and every moment and every minute that goes by creates a more and more dangerous situation. Well, we haven't reached that with the brain yet. We haven't quite reached that status of understanding that when something seems amiss with us, when something seems not right and it's affecting how we see the world and how we interact with people, we still have a tendency to go into a shell and to recede as opposed to opening ourselves up. Because there's not a pill that you can take for your brain injury. There isn't a shot that you can take for your emotional imbalance.
Right.
And if you're particularly, I think, if you're in an environment that is not welcoming or open to having those conversations, and you haven't learned how to talk, and you haven't learned how to communicate your feelings and your emotions, instead of being recognized and heard and accepted, instead are stepped on or set aside or asked to be kept in a box, then the idea of going to someone else, even a professional, to seek that type of help isn't something that's going to enter into sort of your toolbox of how you might help yourself. So it's important that we give people more tools. It's important that we give them a bigger toolbox and recognize that there are many ways in which we can keep ourselves well and keep ourselves healthy. You should run to keep yourself healthy. You should eat well to keep yourself healthy. You should look at your emotional stability and your spirituality to keep yourself healthy. I think we're at a point where even the most staunch critic of social sciences will say that there is a connection between our spirituality, however you define that, and our mental well-being and acuity.
And even physical well-being.
And even our physical well-being. Mind, body, and spirit are all interrelated. And if any one of them is at a deficit or at an imbalance, we run the risk of being ineffectual in every other area, which just doesn't make us the best human beings that we're capable of being.
We're speaking with Anthony Burwell. Are you Director of Communications and Development?
Lofty title, Director of Development and and something else I do, I forget. Partner Relations.
And Partner Relations. I know you're kind of the PR marketing person for Emerge.
I do that.
You mentioned 4-year-olds get
Yes.
served at Emerge,
Yes.
and my first thought is, my goodness, what could a 4-year-old possibly be going through? But I guess suppose grief or different things like this. I mean, what kinds of conditions do you see in a 4-year-old child?
Well, I have a 4-year-old son, and we do our best to keep him well adjusted and good. But the one thing that I discovered with young Maddox is he is his own person. He has his own personality, and things affect him in different ways. And so sometimes you have to go back and look at what has led up to this. What are the triggers? What are we allowing him to see or to engage in, and how is that playing in his own mind? The difficulty with 4-year-olds or younger, or even a little bit older, is they don't have the vocabulary to be able to express exactly what is going on with them. Dr. Litchie, our fine vice president at Emerge, and wonderful psychologist in itself, just talked to us, as us being a team at Emerge as a group, about how to communicate with people of any age, but it starts with children. This may sound strange, but if a child does something wrong, you don't ask them why, because when you ask them why, they don't know why. Children are more instinctive and instinctual. They haven't made the connections about why. And so what you're doing is you're setting them up to have to lie to you, because they're going to have to create something
Interesting
to try to explain to you the why. Instead, what we should do is ask what. What is that you did? What made you go in that direction? What made you go climb on the chair? What made you grab that next thing? In my case, that what is usually cookies for my son. But what's the what as opposed to the why? So what types of things can young people deal with if they have witnessed a trauma?
Yeah.
If they have been separated from the only family that they've known, if they are born and with undiagnosed mental health issues. 4 years old is usually just the beginning of being able to be tested for things like autism, being along that spectrum.
Yes.
So if these things are occurring, then what Emerge is able to do is to bring them in, or their family members would bring them in, and then we have them usually set up with play therapy. So we'll talk with them and just hear their speech patterns and things, because we understand the how children should be developing. But then we just ask them to play, because play is a natural thing that is developed within us as humans to interact with our environment. And as they play, and as we talk with them and have them play through certain conditions and utilize different tools, we begin to understand how they're seeing the world. And once we have an understanding of how they're seeing the world, then we can get to the matter of the what. What is it that's wrong? What is it that's causing you to react this way? What is it? And these aren't things that happen in a single hour-long session. This will happen over the course of a period of time, and everyone's breakthrough comes about at a different time. So, yes, even 4-year-olds,
wow.
We're able to communicate
If
with.
25% of the population has some type of mental illness,
Yes.
are we diagnosing more, or do we just know more?
Yeah.
Are we catching things better than we used to?
It's a great question, and I mentioned about autism. More people than ever are being diagnosed with autism than before. So the question is, do more people have autism, or did we not have a name for it?
That's it.
Until recently. My contention, or what I've read, I haven't researched it, but we stand on the shoulders of giants. What I've read is that it is a matter of more people being able to be diagnosed. We have a wider experiences of what to look for. Tests are better than they've ever been before. We have more people in the field who are building on the research and work of others who have been involved in it. And so they're able to give more accurate diagnoses, which allows for more accurate treatment and more people being served.
So interesting. We're speaking with Anthony Burwell. He's Director of Development and Donor Relations at Emerge Counseling Services. We've got to take a break. We'll be back after these words. You're listening to Our Community.